Good morning. It is 5 to 7 here in northern Greece. And today is a calisthenics workout, so I'm about to head out to my favorite workout spot, which is a 8-minute drive away from my house. I'm pretty lucky to have such an amazing place so close by. Before the twins, I used to sometimes walk there, but nowadays, ain't nobody got time for that. So let's go. Weighted backpack. My good old gymnastic ring buddies. I've got these, I think, close to 8 years now. Like I've done literally thousands of sessions of coaching here locally with people. You know, I've used them hundreds of times for my workouts, and they're still pretty good, still alive. Just an amazing piece of equipment to invest in and spend like $50 and have a piece of equipment that can last you literally a lifetime. Check out that view there. This is my sprinting gym over there. Just love this place. Always did since I was a kid. So the way that my day looks nowadays, typically I'll wake up at 5 a.m. I'm gonna have a nice cup of coffee, just chill on my rocking chair for 15 minutes, meditate a little bit, think of what I want to do today, maybe focus a little bit on my more long-term vision of what I'm trying to accomplish right now in life. After that, I'm gonna get a little block of work in. About an hour later, my wife is going to wake up and the twins. I'm going to prep some coffee for my wife. I'm going to prep the formulas for the little ones, see if my wife needs anything else. And then I'm going to just leave the house and go work out outdoors if it's a calisthenics day, which is very important for me because I work from home, right? I spend most of the day behind a computer screen since I've taken my coaching nowadays completely online. I used to have a studio here. I used to coach people both, in person and then coach people also online. Nowadays, I just do the online thing. This also allows me to be more at home, help my wife if she needs more help with the twins, but also get to, experience this whole journey of them growing up a little bit more, which can get stressful, but I think it's still worth it. So yeah, training outside, like getting a break from the home, from screens, just helps so much, like mood-wise, energy-wise. So I try to do that at least 4 times a week. And then I have another 2 workouts that I do indoors at home where I can lift some weights, cover those holes that calisthenics leave, those heavy hip hinge kind of movements, stuff like that. And I find that that's like a nice mix that helps me achieve my goals, that keeps things interesting. Plus, by training at home, I have the twins watching me, which is also important because I think that the biggest lessons that you can teach kids are the ones that you're showing them, the things you want them to do, not when you're lecturing them, not when you're telling them what to do. Obviously, there's a place and time for that, and that is also important. But by showing to kids, by being the example, whether that's how you treat people, whether that's how you show up every day, whether that's your work ethic, all your values. Like, I think that the lessons that stick mostly with kids are the ones where you're not talking. Again, like you're showing. Okay, done with my warm-up. I'm going to get organized here a little bit with my training log. And I would say if you don't have a training log, like it's literally the number one piece of equipment that you should have, like even above gymnastic rings. Like unless you have a training log, unless you have a reference point of what you did last week, there's no way you are progressing in the long run. There's no way you're getting stronger. There's no way your physique is going to change. And that also means that you're probably going to lose motivation after a certain point, right? So always try to beat your previous week's performance, even if it's by just a tiny bit. unless you're doing so, like, number one, you either don't have a good enough program. So if you find yourself just not making progress, getting stuck, your programming is just not good. And I don't care if you've been training 2 years consistently, 3 years consistently, after that, okay, like if you haven't missed a workout like in 3 years, I don't mean, if you're getting sick or anything like that, but if you haven't, dropped off your training plan within 3 years, then you should be still making progress, okay? So if that is not the case, then you just need a better workout plan. So yeah, this is my training log. Pretty simple, doesn't look beautiful. Like, I write really bad. Like, I think I have the writing of a 6-year-old, but that's fine. Like, as long as it makes sense for me, and it's detailed enough, it's okay. So, I think we're ready to start. Some people, like Coach John, bash me about using gloves, but especially when you're training outdoors, like in these kinds of gazebos, sometimes you have nails sticking out, sometimes you have the pointy, what do you call that? So just getting a basic set of gloves like these cost, I don't know, $2 or something. It just makes sense. Okay, so this is round 10. What I'm doing basically lately, the last 6 weeks, is a mix of quite high volume supersets with moderate intensity, followed by some EMOMs, the way that I covered in the previous video. So if you haven't seen the video, EMOMs Done Better, I think that was the title or the thumbnail text, have a look at that. But the way I'm structuring my current workout plan for my new challenge, building the Wolverine physique, is basically a mix of high volume supersets at the beginning of the workout. So this is my 10th and last round of pull-ups and dips. Moderate intensity. So right now I'm mixing basically 5 to 6 pull-ups, like chest to bar, really clean form, as clean as I can at least. The same with dips. And yeah, right after that, I'll be doing my EMOMs, which I'll cover next. What's important for this part of the workout is that you're working really clean and you're really sharpening that mind to muscle connection. Chest to bar or to plank. Good squeeze at the top, pause at the bottom. Don't bounce up. So reps, intensity, sets, it can be so different, right? Because I can do 40 dips if I don't care about mind to muscle, if I don't care about tempo, right? I think I have video of that on my channel. And I can get pretty fatigued that way, right? But I can also do 8 reps, high volume, and a lot of times feel even more pumped and get even better results that way. It all depends, right, on what is the goal, how are you working right now, also like how old you are, right? Because I think the last time I did 40 dips was 5 or 6 years ago. So yeah, as you get older, it's a lot better to go slower, super clean form. Don't bounce up when you're doing pushing movements. Don't swing up when you're doing pulling movements. Like, really get deep into that mind to muscle connection. Really sharpen those connections. And as long as you're reaching fatigue that way, as long as you're working close to failure or relatively close to failure, depending on how your program is set up, you'll actually get better results in the long run, because you're gonna be putting less uncomfortable miles on your joints, on your connective tissues, and your muscles don't care, right? If you're doing a lot of reps, your muscles care that you're getting enough tension, enough fatigue, enough stimulation. All right, so next we have push-ups and rows. I'll be doing my push-ups with 35 kilos. And rows, I'll be doing bodyweight, 5 rounds, EMOM style, the kind of EMOMs that I talked about in the previous video. So let's get started. So if you ever wondered how do you put on a heavy backpack, at least what's the most comfortable way, this is the one. Right now, the goal here is 5 rounds of, 8 push-ups, plus or minus 1, and 10 to 12 rows. I know the rows don't look like a lot, but again, if you're really working focused, mind attention, what? Mind to muscle. There you go, brain fart. You don't need a lot more than that. 40 seconds rest. Okay, so let's see. I've never gotten 5 sets of 8. So far I've done 4 sets of 8. So let's see if this is first one. All right. Whoa. There you go. Progress. Damn. So another question I get pretty often is, how do you train all year long outdoors, right? Because it's going to be rainy, it's going to be cold. Like, we're up in the mountains here, even though we're in Greece. Most people think that Greece is just sun and islands, right? It gets pretty cold here. Right now it is 7 degrees Celsius, probably. I'm going to check right after in my car and let you know. But there are different things that I do for that, right? I have some outdoor spots that are covered. Like, this is not that bad, although when it does rain, like if you're doing your reps here in the rings, you do get some rain from the side. So I have different spots where I train outdoors that are more covered. That's one thing I do. In terms of rain, in terms of temperature, first of all, the more muscle mass you start to carry, the more you'll notice that your body is warmer. That's one thing. So I run really hot. I mean, I'm not like a bodybuilder, but I still have a decent amount of muscle on me. So that's the common disagreement at home with my wife. She always wants it very hot. I want it very cold. And although my wife actually adapted the last years, the more she lived with me, now with the twins, unfortunately, it's always super hot. So, yeah, that's another thing. Tip number 3 is layering. So very important to always dress in layers, right? I'm going to always start with a tank top beneath, a t-shirt, a hoodie, sometimes even more clothes if it's colder. And the secret is basically always being ahead of sweat, right? Like, the moment you start to sweat just a tiny bit, you remove that base layer, and always have, extra like t-shirts so you can change. So that helps a lot. Like, most people overdress and just start sweating and, they don't change. And like, that's worse, because the sweatier you are, the more humid you are, the more permeable you are. Is that the right word? From cold, right? From air and all that. So layering, being ahead of sweat, having muscle on you. What else? I think I had one more tip. And progressive overload, just like with strength, right? Just exposing yourself slowly to cold, starting from the summer, right? Like don't instantly start wearing a lot of clothes. That's what I would do every year. I always try to resist putting that extra layer so my body adapts to cold. Like we all have these primitive mechanisms in our bodies, right? That help us regulate temperature. Like we used to live in caves, like with no air conditioning. We did had fires and that, but still, like we used to survive in a lot colder environments. And there's plenty of research on that, like why it's actually not that good for you to always live in that perfectly regulated temperature. Your body needs to be exposed to cold, needs to be exposed to heat. So overdoing it with regulation is actually not healthy for your body, because you do shut down mechanisms that not only help you regulate cold, but also keep you healthy, that boost your immune system, that help you live longer, and all kinds of other benefits like that. There's a lot of research on that. Maybe that's a topic for a different video. So cold exposure, I usually do cold showers most of the year at least, unless it's like, end of the day, I'm super tired. I've been outside maybe. Like sometimes I will have like a warm shower in that case, but most times I'm going to try to do the cold shower, because I even sleep better that way. Like that's another hack when it comes to sleep. Sounds counterintuitive, but actually having a cold shower before sleep, it really helps you flush stress out of your body, because you do get like a peak stress stimulus, and then stress takes like a deep dive. Your temperature drops, which is also important for sleep, and you actually sleep like a baby. Most people think that you should have a warm shower to relax. I find cold showers work a lot better. If you struggle with sleep, give this a try.
Yes. Hoppas met die roda. Thanks.
Hey, little better party, mate. So I just had an interesting conversation with this guy I see walk every day here. I think he's about, I don't know, I would say 55 years old, 60, maybe. And, he asked me, like, what do I do? I look buffer than I did 2 years ago, and we got in this whole discussion. I told him that, like, walking is great. Walking is actually the number one exercise I recommend to people before anything else. And he mentioned how that is also, in his opinion, right, the most important. But as important as that is, as your foundation, you also need to strength train, right? Like as you get older, if you're not strength training, basically, you just end up a sack of skin and bones, basically, right? Like muscle mass just keeps evaporating. It starts slowly after 30 with about 1% per year, close to 1%. But that speeds up, right, as you get older and older, especially after 60. So yes, walking very important, but you need to strength train with a focus on building muscle, with a focus on bodybuilding. Not, that you have to look like a bodybuilder. And that is not easy anyway. Like I always laugh when people tell me like, yeah, I do want to strength train, but I don't want to get too buff. Like it is not that easy, right? If you're natural like me, like just getting to the level I am right now, like takes a lot of work, right? If you have basic genetics, if you're a natural, but you still want to focus on gaining muscle, right? Up until your 60s, I would say, if you're serious about training, you can keep adding muscle, right? It depends on when you start. Obviously, if you train really seriously up to your 40s, like you've laser focused, let's say for 10 years, that might be your peak. And after that, it's maintenance. But if you haven't peaked yet, like if you haven't been training consistently for a year, 2 years, 3 years, you can still keep adding muscle up to your 60s. And training smart, like knowing what you do, that makes a big, big difference. So hiring a coach, very, very important. A strength training coach who knows what he does, right? Very, very important if you want to live long and healthy. And I used to say, longevity is a big priority of mine, but I don't call it longevity anymore. I call it health span, right? Because you can live long and live a crappy life. Basically, you can spend the last 10 years of your life just being in a bed, in pain, chronic diseases, diabetes, this, that, the other. Or you can live long and healthy, right? And basically, like, an easy way to explain health span is, you live very healthy until one day you suddenly die. Like, that's the goal for me. I already spent 5 years in my late 20s, mid 20s actually, in bed, went under 13 operations, depressed, in pain, chronic pain, taking meds all the time, painkillers. Like, that's not a fun way to live life. Like, I've gone in the preview of how that is. So that is the last thing I want to experience, when I'm living my last years on the spinning rock, right? So obviously you can get some bad genetics, right, if you're unlucky. But if you have decent genetics in terms of disease and all that, you take care of yourself, you eat decently, you move a lot, you maintain muscle as much as possible so you can remain autonomous. You can do most of the things that you need to be alive, like, groceries, go for a walk with your grandkids. If you can do all that, take care of yourself, you can live a long and healthy life. But you need to walk and you need to strength train. Those two are mandatory. And I know it's super easy nowadays to just be a sack of bones and do nothing, right? Everything comes to your door nowadays. You don't even have to shop. You don't even have to go for groceries outside. But guys, walk at least 10,000 steps a day. It's not that hard. And make sure you strength train. Like, those are the two non-negotiables if you want to live a decent life. All right, and final topic for today. Speaking of longevity and health span, how do I see myself training the next 30 years? So basically, the things I do right now are the things I hope I can do when I'm still 70 and even 80. Obviously, I might not be doing chest to bar pull-ups, or at least a ton of them, when I'm 80. But, I will be still doing leg assisted pull-ups, stuff like that. So that's one, strength training, calisthenics for sure. Definitely Romanian deadlifts, like a heavy hip hinge movement, very important for your spine. As you get older, I might not be lifting like 200 pounds as I do right now. But definitely, practicing that movement with lighter weights if I'm 80 and above. Sprints, another one that I hope I'll be doing until late life. Again, obviously, I'm not going to be running as fast as I'm right now. And my sprints when I'm 80 might look like an uphill jog. But that's definitely another thing that I see myself doing. A lot of walking, obviously. One more question I wanted to tackle today is frequency. A lot of guys ask me, what is the best frequency to train? Is it 3 times? Is it 4 times? Is it 2 times? And the answer to that, honestly, varies. It depends. Usually when you're a beginner, this is what we do in our coaching. We're going to start you with a full body workout plan 3 times a week. That seems to be the most efficient setup for most guys. You still have like a day in between to recover. It doesn't get that boring. And you get the best bang for your buck that way. You can train relatively hard, which is important, like especially during that first year. Very, very important to learn to train close to technical failure. Most people think they're training close to failure. In reality, they're training like 5, even 7 reps away from failure sometimes, which is a rep range that won't build you that much muscle unless you're doing like a ton of volume, but that's a different topic. So, 3 times a week, practicing the skill of training close to failure, using good form. These are things we make sure that people do correctly, when we coach somebody online through videos and holding them accountable and all kinds of stuff like that. So that would be your starter frequency during your first year, I would say. After that, what I like to do, if possible, again, if it's not possible, guys, like the best frequency is the one that fits your schedule, right? But if you want to optimize things, after that, I would move to a 4-day split per week. And if you want to get really, really serious, I'm a big fan of training 5 to 6 times a week, just so you can spread your volume across the week as optimally as possible. I'm a big fan of doing just a few exercises when you reach that point, like 4 exercises, maybe max 5 if you're doing like a last exercise as I did today, like an ab exercise, something that is not that taxing. So 4 to 5 max exercises so you can really hammer those hard. You want to make sure that you don't repeat the same movement pattern the next day, right? Make sure you're recovering correctly. So if you do a horizontal push, as I did today, the next day, don't do a horizontal push again. Make sure you do a vertical push, which is why tomorrow I have my overhead shoulder pressing, right? Make sure you're not training upper body more than 4 times a week. Make sure you have like 3 days where your upper body rests. Lower body, I like to have like 2 days that are more focused on the lower body, and then maybe 1 more day where I have some, 2 more days actually, that I have some supplementary stuff for the lower body, again, like a hip hinge. But again, also giving your lower body 3 days of complete rest, right? So that's like a smart way to set up a 5 to 6 day training frequency plan if you want to get the most out of your training. If you've progressed after like your intermediate level and you're getting more into a more advanced training level, and you want to build some serious muscle, as I'm trying to do this year, aiming for building that Wolverine physique. So that was all for today. Let me know if you have any questions. Even if it's like more random topics, I'll try to include these in these kinds of videos if I start doing these more often. If you're interested in personal coaching, there's a link below. You can always fill in a questionnaire. We can get in touch and see if we're a good fit to work with each other. Enjoy the view. And there we go. Until next time, keep on training.